to answer your question, it's absolutely fair. Anytime you put tape on, game film, or put something on tape, it's fair to judge. What I would say, though, is judge fairly. Judge fairly. Don't be biased, judge fairly. And when you judge fairly, you have to say, well, his defense has gone from third best in the league as far as scoring to 24th. Nick Sorensen, the DC, is under fire because they haven't done well.
Thing, is weird because they have the 5th yardage defense and 11th in forcing turnovers, but 24th scoring. So, those numbers, usually are not that far misaligned.
But you can watch. I mean,
they're not the same defense they were last year.
Take that into account. The injuries offensively as well. I mean, defensively, they missed a lot of guys, but offensively as well. His 2 top weapons from last year were McCaffrey and Ayuk. They're gone.
Yeah.
Debo
hasn't been the same.
No, Debo's a one-time Pro Bowler. And I thought he was the best football player in the league a few years ago. He's only made 1 Pro Bowl in his whole career, and that was before Purdy was on the team. All right, so I'm just saying, you really have Kittle, who's, I think, still at a high level. Some people think he's down, but that's your only guy. So I just consider that, because we've even seen the greatest that I've seen, Mahomes, not put up the numbers that we're used to seeing from him when he only has Kelsey, who's still great.
Well, he won an MVP like that in 2022.
But he had
just Kelsey.
Okay, and he's Mahomes too. Yeah. But the last 2 years, we've seen him play pedestrian. So take that into account, and all these injuries. This graphic right here shows they've lost the second most games by starters to injury in the league. And all the other teams on there, essentially, except the Texans, are struggling.
Yeah.
Now, the Colts might make the playoffs, but still, they're right. And so the injuries are huge, and yet Brock Purdy still, and I said it yesterday, but it's worth repeating, passer rating-wise, he's better passer rating than all those guys. Matthew Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, Cousins, Geno Smith, C.J. Stroud. I threw Caleb on there, Nick, because you said he was a top 6 quarterback when he was still in college.
Yeah.
Dak, Trevor, because he's your guy. So I'm just saying, we can judge him, and we can say Purdy has not been what he was the last 2 years or year and a half, but judge it fairly. When you take everything in context, I think you have to say, he's still what I've always felt, in last year that he's been a tier 2 quarterback. If you thought he was tier 1, you're disappointed. If you thought he was tier 2 like I do, then this is what he is.
All right, so I think it is far more fair and far more instructive for the Niners to judge Brock Purdy off this season than last season when you're projecting forward. Last season, Brock Purdy had an all-world running back. Most quarterbacks will go their whole career and not have their running back have the season Christian McCaffrey had. And if they're lucky, it maybe happens once or twice if you're lucky. He had last season a great wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk playing at a great level. And last season, Debo was good. Debo might not have been a Pro Bowler last year. He was good last year and had an all-pro tight end. He had the second most Pro Bowlers on the Niners last year of any team in the league. This year, what he has is what was a weakness last year, the offensive line. Brew kept throwing this stat up last year. I don't know how much he likes it this year. According to PFF, the league's 12th best offensive line, so an above-average offensive line. I would say average skill position players on offense. Great tight end, fine wide receivers, fine running backs, right around league average. It is more like the type of team you are going to typically have around you in this league, particularly when the quarterback is highly paid, which is why I think it would be doing your franchise a disservice if you're the Niners, if you are not quietly having meetings of, all right, guys, if this season, if 5-7 turns into 6-11, which it very well could given their schedule and their injuries.
Yep, with injury season.
Once upon a time, we made a Super Bowl, lost to the Chiefs, and then won 6 games the next year. And then they did something that was drastic, traded 3 first-round picks for the wrong quarterback.
Right.
They just lost a Super Bowl to the Chiefs. They have another 6-win season, and they have their own top 10 pick where you don't have to trade anything. And the quarterback on your roster is like, hey, 60-ish million, say he doesn't even say 60. Say he says,
50-ish.
you're not paying me less than Trevor Lawrence. Make an argument as to why you're paying me less. You're not paying me less than Trevor Lawrence
That's
at
a good
55.
argument.
Right, it would be by his agent. That's what his agent should be doing. And by the way, you have the benefit of, you could get a first-round pick for Brock Purdy. You would.
From who?
I have to see how the draft falls and who drafts, but I would, in a world where Darnold went for a 2, a 4, and a 6.
Okay. Oh my God, man. We just have such insane conversations. I mean, first off, now Wilds is acting like nobody would want Purdy. You guys act like it's just easy to get quarterbacks like Brock Purdy. It's just effortless to get someone who can run an offense like Brock Purdy can. I mean, would the Chicago Bears be better with Brock Purdy right now? I'm not talking about in the future. I'm talking about right now. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I love how Nick says, let's judge Brock Purdy on this year when they were decimated with injuries and not judge him on when they had a healthy team. So then let's judge Patrick Mahomes then on these last couple of years because he hasn't had that full, complete elite roster. His numbers have been completely average. Baker Mayfield is putting up better numbers. Tua Tagovailoa. And do not just say, well, they won the Super Bowl. You guys are so insane about that. The Kansas City Chiefs fans have brain rot at this point. It's insanity that you can't acknowledge that it doesn't all come down on Patrick Mahomes. That it has to do with Andy Reid and Spags and defense and Patrick Mahomes. He's a contributing factor. But tell me, if it was all Patrick Mahomes, then please tell me, why did they go out and get Hollywood Brown this offseason? Why did they go and trade and get Hopkins this season? Why did they go and try to now upgrade at left tackle this season? Why did Patrick Mahomes lose the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Was it the O-line? So again, you got to stop with the nonsense. You got to stop with it. So it's not fair. You have to judge Purdy fairly then. Don't say, well, we're only going to judge Brock Purdy on this year. Do you think that if the 49ers had a significantly better defense, would their record be better? If they were holding teams to 19 points or less, which is what the Kansas City Chiefs did last year, don't you think the record would be significantly better? Don't you think Shanahan would be able to call a different game, a different style game? Not to mention last year, you actually had a healthy Pacheco. You had Rashee Rice. This team this year has been a dumpster fire of injuries. Players in and out and in and out and in and out of the lineup. It's brutal for a head coach. Shanahan doesn't know how to even come up with a game plan at this point. You finally get Christian McCaffrey back. Oh, he's done. Debo's in. Oh, no, he's not. Kittle. Oh, no. Jennings, hey, he's looking good. Oh, no, he's out. Ayuk, we got him. We secured him. Big money. Let's go. Oh, never mind. Like, what are we talking about? And again, Nick always wants to use passer rating when it's convenient for him. Always, always, always. And then when we look at this right here, it's inconvenient for him. It's inconvenient. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It makes no sense at all. I just don't understand why we can't continue to have honest conversations about these quarterbacks, what they mean for their team, and why various quarterbacks have success or don't have success. Yesterday, I think it was, Nick said, well, we can't use passer rating to judge Brock Purdy because Shanahan is like, a turbocharger for quarterbacks' passer ratings. What does Andy Reid do for quarterbacks? Is Andy Reid not known to get the maximum juice out of his quarterbacks? Whether it be McNabb, whether it be Vic, whether it be Alex Smith, he is known throughout his entire career as being the ultimate quarterback whisperer. He made an older, past his prime, Mike Vick, who was locked up, work. Who Mike Vick himself said that there is no one better than Andy Reid. That he goes, if I had Andy Reid at the beginning of my season, at the beginning of my career, my entire life would be different. Listen to what Patrick Mahomes has to say about Andy Reid. That's what's always funny. Everybody always wants to downplay what Andy Reid does for Mahomes, but then you have Mahomes himself say it. I guess you guys know more than Patrick Mahomes. I guess Nick knows more than Patrick Mahomes. So you want to say that Shanahan helps Brock Purdy out. And that's why some of his numbers may be juiced a little bit. But we don't want to say that Patrick Mahomes is helped out by Andy Reid. Okay, that almost makes sense. That almost makes sense. If anything, we should be looking at Caleb Williams like, hey, that's actually pretty impressive considering who was his coordinator. Hey, Kirk Cousins, considering who, what's going on they have going on offensively. Geno Smith, like, those are actually more impressive to me. It's less impressive of me actually to have Mahomes up there, Stafford and Purdy up there because of their head coaches. It's more impressive for me to see some of those numbers when I don't trust their head coaches or their offensive coordinators. Without a doubt. You will always be a better quarterback when your head coach is Andy Reid, Shanahan, or McVay. Yet we only want to admit that when it's Brock Purdy. Like, I don't understand. I really don't. It makes no sense. 0 sense. Bizarre to me. Honestly bizarre at this point. It's not unfair to judge Purdy off this season. It's all part of the picture. It's all judgment. Just like it makes sense to judge Patrick Mahomes on the last couple of years and say, you know what? When he doesn't have such great weapons, he doesn't look as great now, does he? Someone in the comment section said, oh, look at the numbers of Mahomes now that he got Hopkins. It's better. So then are you admitting that when he has better weapons, he plays better? So then are you admitting that he is dependent on weapons just like other quarterbacks? We won a Super Bowl. The defense. You're going to tell me that having your defense give up 19 or less points doesn't help you win games? It's just, we're just in a circular nonsense. It's kind of shocking to me. Like I said, on one side, I'm like, oh my God, how can we keep doing this? On the other side, I go, well, thank God for having to have the same conversation again and again and again. Otherwise, I don't know what videos I'd be making about. Would we be, it's a shame. It's a shame that fan bases aren't big enough all around the NFL. This is actually, we talk about how, NFL is king, and it is. But the reality is it's actually just a handful of teams. It's the 49ers. It's the Chiefs now. The Eagles, the Ravens, the Bills, right? It's these top, big, massive franchises, even the Cowboys. Because that's what moves the needle. That's what drives clicks. That's why we keep talking about Brock Purdy and the 49ers. We're not talking about Trevor Lawrence right now. We're not talking about CJ Stroud, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins. So we have to have the same conversation again and again and again and again and again and again. Rather than saying, let's talk about Trevor Lawrence right now. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's talk about these other teams. Drake May and the Patriots. Like, those are more interesting conversations, but not enough fans watch it. That is the problem. And especially the more people who are fans of the NFL as a whole, you either you're always catering to like two types of fans, right? The 49ers fans, massive, 10% of my show are 49ers fans. So when I do 49ers content, they're going to watch it and you can feel it, and you have that. Then you have the more general fan who's like, you know what? I love to watch these shows. I don't watch every single game. I rely on these shows to kind of tell me, how am I supposed to feel about Trevor Lawrence? I'm not watching Trevor Lawrence. Nick says Trevor Lawrence is pretty good. Okay, I believe it. I trust Nick, right? And so you have that type of fan base, which is, again, totally okay. But they want to talk about the popular teams, the popular players. That's Brock Purdy. That's the 49ers. That's Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys. Again, I made Jacksonville Jaguars videos. When I first started this channel, I was like, I'm going to talk about all these teams. I'm going to talk about the Jags. Let's go. And it's like 100 views. I'm like, ugh. No one wants to talk about Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars? I don't understand. He just signed like a gajillion-dollar contract. He was number 1 overall pick. Let's talk about it. Nah, no one wants to. All right, I'm talking about the Patriots. Let's go. Drake May, here we go. Nope, no one cares. The New York Jets, no one cares. I made a lot of videos early on in the Jets. I got away from the Jets. No one wants to talk about the Jets. I'm like, Jets are a massive franchise. The heck? It's New York City. Nope, no one cares. I literally made a video saying no one's really going to watch this. And I said, hey, some people are asking me why am I doing a lot of Jets content? And I was like, no one's really watching. And I was like, honestly, I'm making this video right now, and I doubt not many people are going to watch it. Nope. But we do another Brock Purdy video for the 10,000th time. Should Brock Purdy be signed by the 49ers? Is Brock Purdy a top quarterback? Does he elevate the roster around him? So, okay, let's have that conversation again. Let's have it again. And Kansas City Chiefs fans are going to hate when I say this right now. I don't care who wins the Super Bowl. I do not. But from a content creation, from a sports conversation viewpoint, the Kansas City Chiefs win, and we're going to have to now talk about the whole time offseason, can they four-peat? And we're going to talk about that again and again and again. And every single time, Nick Wright will just say, this is the best season, Patrick Mahomes is the greatest ever, the only quarterback to ever win 3 in a row. And that's just always what the conversation will be reduced to. I'm like, it's just going to be absurd. We already see that with LeBron James and MJ. It's up 6-0, 6-0, 6-0. We can't have any other conversation. It's always 6-0, 6-0, 6-0. And it's like, that has degraded the conversation of LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. 6-0, 6-0, 6-0. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. I'm just trying to have, again, as Brew put it, fair, honest conversations. We constantly want to focus on things that don't matter and want to highlight them as if they do, and reduce the things that do matter when they're inconvenient for our truth. And it's just mind-numbing at this point. Because people believe other things. The reason why I went so hard on just the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, that's why people say, you're a hater, you're a hater. No, it degrades conversation. We can't have honest conversations about other quarterbacks because we're erroneously believing something else about the gold standard quarterback. Whether it be Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, whoever. But obviously we're in 2024, so it is Patrick Mahomes. So it degrades our ability to evaluate all of these other situations. We see something in the grass that looks like a snake, so we treat it like a snake, when in reality, it is just a coiled up piece of rope. That is the problem. That is the fundamental problem. And because of that, all the conversations that come out of that just get further and further and further and further and further from the truth. And further. What did Dak Prescott do this year? I thought Dak Prescott's the greatest quarterback ever, man. I thought he was a top quarterback. MVP candidate last year. Now we want to say, oh, well, he doesn't have a run game. Or, oh, he only has CD Lamb. Oh, Mike McCarthy. I thought he was amazing. I thought he was the best. I thought he was a top quarterback, top 5 quarterback. Back to back to back, 12-game, win seasons. Nick Wright had them going to the Super Bowl last year and Dak being the MVP. I don't understand. Can someone please help me make sense of all this? Because I can't. I'm struggling. Why? Why is there a benefit of doubt for some quarterbacks and not for others? Why is it when a quarterback wins, we say it's all on him? But when he loses, if we like the quarterback, we say, well, who does he have? Just absurd. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? I almost said about the Green Bay Packers. Don't know where that came from. What do you guys all think about Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers? Do you think it's fair to judge Purdy off this season? And what type of judgments should we conclude as I lose my camera? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.